When I first started working with clients in their gut health in 2018, I had no awareness of the connection between ADHD and the gut. However, after just a couple of years working with clients, I realized that I was consistently getting remarks from clients saying things like, my ADHD is getting better. Is it the work we're doing together? I can focus better. Can this work possibly be helping ADHD? I feel like mine is easier to manage. And literally just a few weeks ago, a client said to me these very specific words. I thought that all my distraction, irritability, and difficulty focusing might be my ADHD and just being a mom, but so much of my brain fog is lifted since I started working with you. Now, my response to these comments have typically been just great, but often my clients, after saying this, they want to know why. Like, why is working with their gut helping their ADHD, or is this possibly something that's actually going on? So, on today's episode, I'm going to be diving into 5 ways that your gut impacts your brain and how you can use these 5 gut health strategies to make managing your ADHD easier. Whether you feel like you do or don't have gut health problems, if you know you have or think you have ADHD, then this episode is for you. Hey friend, welcome to the Better Belly Podcast. If you're currently trying endless supplements, doctor visits, and diet changes to heal your mystery symptoms, you are in the right place. We're here to solve the real root causes behind your gut, hormones, skin, sleep, and brain concerns, literally anything and everything in your body. My name is Allison Jordan. I'm a functional medicine practitioner that has supported over 150 clients just like you to heal problems that no one has been able to fix. You don't need a perfect diet or a random supplement you found on Instagram to heal. You need a proven system that heals your whole body from the inside out. That's what I'm here to share with you, episode by episode. It's time to make health easy again. And just as a reminder, this information is not meant to diagnose, manage, or treat disease. Always consult with your own health practitioner before you make any changes to your health. All right, guys. So before we jump into this podcast episode, just a heads up, today's conversation will be a little bit longer than I typically keep it at. You're looking at the finished recording, so you know how long the episode is. And I did consider initially splitting up this episode into 5 different parts so that each of these 5 tips or strategies that I'm talking about would be their own episode. But I felt like they really flow into each other. And honestly, for future sharing purposes, when I go to share with, on social media, on Instagram, where I'm at Better Belly Therapies, or in an email, whenever I'm just wanting to give a resource to somebody on like an index of the ways that ADHD and the gut are connected, I wanted it to be one episode. So I hope that you enjoy it. I hope that, even if you have to listen to this in multiple increments, pause it, do something else, listen to more of it the next day, that this is helpful to you and that you don't have to be flipping through multiple episodes. So I do apologize if you prefer shorter episodes, but today's going to be longer. Now, before we get into the actual 5 ways that you can make your ADHD easier to manage using gut health strategies, I want to just give some brief overview, even just a visual of like why the gut, why this gut-brain connection. And there's a lot of ways that you can describe the gut-brain connection. It's definitely a point of conversation people are very interested in these days, especially in my field where everyone's wondering, are my bloating and constipation and indigestion coming from my stress? But this is very different because it turns out that the gut is the doorway to the body. It is one of the main ways that anything gets into your body because your body on the outside, our bodies, have a very fortified system to keep toxins and dirt and bacteria out of our body. The majority of that system is actually called your skin, but our body is very particular about what we let into our body. So we have holes in our body, like our noses to breathe in air, or our mouth to let in food to try to bring in nutrients but keep everything else out. However, that means also that if the gut isn't functioning properly, it is letting things in. It's like if your gut is a doorway to a house, which is the rest of your body, that door is not fully shut. So anybody can come in and just ransack the place, hang out for a bit, trudge in their dirty shoes, whoever can come into it. And so if there's a gut problem, you can end up having a problem in the rest of the body because the gut ends up absorbing things in the bloodstream, and the blood will take whatever that gut picked up and move it everywhere else in the body. Yikes. So whether you even feel like you have gut symptoms, if you are having neurological symptoms, like anxiety, depression, difficulty focusing, poor memory, brain fog, fatigue, insomnia. If you're having skin problems like acne, eczema, psoriasis, rashes, if you're having hormone problems, all of these can be connected to the gut. And today I'm going to be talking about 5 ways that I'm seeing very strong correlations in my clients, that when we're looking at lab results, when we are looking at what started making their ADHD better, what strategies were they working on when they started telling me, I don't have to work as hard to remember my keys. I don't have to work as hard to plan my day. Things just seem more clear in my mind. I am less angry and irritable with my kids. When all of that started happening, these are the 5 things that I was noticing we were working on or seeing improvements in, whether that's in their labs or in their other symptoms. So you guys ready? Is that a good overall view on why we're even talking about the gut? I hope so. All right, so let's start. The first thing that I am seeing a strong connection between the gut and ADHD is in poor protein digestion. Wow, when I wrote that down, I thought, this does not sound sexy. Like, it's not like, ooh, I really think it's my protein digestion screwing with my brain. However, let me break down like why this is actually amazing and a fairly mind-blowing thing, fairly easy yet mind-blowing thing to help in your body. So protein is the basis for you to then break down protein, whether that's a meat source or a plant source, into amino acids. And those amino acids become the basis for doing a bunch of other things in your body, including building neurotransmitters. And neurotransmitters are what gives you dopamine, serotonin, norepinephrine, and especially dopamine, which is right now gets a lot of focus in the ADHD community. So if you cannot break down protein, and again, whether that's a plant source or an animal source, just remember that protein and fat are significantly more difficult to break down than carbs. Those are kind of the 3 macro food groups that you have. If you can't break down protein, which is difficult to break down, so it's one of the ones you're going to have problems with, then it means that you aren't getting enough amino acids to build neurotransmitters, which is going to result in low neurotransmitters like low dopamine, low serotonin, and low norepinephrine. And these hormones are all related to things like focus, reward, get up and go, all the things that you associate with ADHD being difficulties, poor focus, needing these like reward stimuli, maybe having lots of get up and go one moment and then very little get up and go another moment. So the big question now becomes, what causes poor protein digestion? Why does one person have it and one person not have it? Well, there are 3 components to protein digestion. Number 1 is stomach acid. So after you chew the food in your mouth and you break it up into tinier pieces, you swallow it, and its first stop is your stomach. And in your stomach, you want to have a good amount of stomach acid. But an increasing problem in our population is having low stomach acid. And I go over this more in episode 40 of the Better Belly podcast, which is titled Reduce Acid Reflux with the Magic Power of Zinc. I talk about zinc's role in having good stomach acid level, but I also go way deeper into all the physiology behind low stomach acid, how low stomach acid is actually the main cause of acid reflux, and more intriguing facts like that. So go check out episode 40, and I also have the link for that episode and all of today's episode in the show notes. And I tried to put them in the order that these episodes are mentioned. So number one's low stomach acid. And in that episode, I talk about how to fix your low stomach acid. If you want a really quick and easy test to know if you might have low stomach acid, I have a test called a baking soda test that I have outlined in my free download. It's a constipation PDF. Just go to betterbellytherapies.com/constipation or click the link in the show notes. Again, show notes are a treasure trove of resources for this week or for today. And go and get that PDF. And I have a baking soda test instructions. It's a 3-day test. It requires baking soda and water. It's basically free. And you can get a bird's eye view on how your stomach acid levels are. All right, number 2 is low bile production. So after your stomach, your food is going to get dumped into your small intestines, and your small intestines are going to have a little pump that's going to pump bile from your gallbladder and liver into your small intestines and break that up. If you have low bile production, then typically the first thing you're going to want to be thinking about is liver problems. Not that you have a liver disease, but your liver is not functioning optimally, and that is not a diagnosis. It's a description, but a nice way to describe that is liver congestion. I have a whole episode on the liver, episode 118, and you can check that out in the show notes or just by scrolling through your app and going to episode 118 of the Better Belly podcast. Number 3 is going to be low pancreatic enzymes. These low pancreatic enzymes are typically a result of low stomach acid and or visceral restrictions. Visceral restrictions are when the fascia around your organs get tight, and this can happen from a variety of reasons, including illness, injury, surgeries, an injury being like falling off a horse, getting pushed in a soccer game, falling when you were a kid off your bike and hitting your side. All sorts of stuff can cause visceral restrictions. But if you want to know more about low pancreatic enzymes and visceral restrictions, you can go to episode 90 titled Fascia 101, The Hidden Force Behind Bloating and Constipation. It does still apply. That whole episode applies to low pancreatic enzymes, etc. But that is my big opus episode on fascia and how it gets distorted in the body, especially around organs, and can impact literally your entire body. And then low stomach acid can cause low pancreatic enzymes because there's a enzymatic process where a high enough stomach acid actually creates a waterfall effect of the body now knowing, we need to create pancreatic enzymes. So interestingly enough, low stomach acid can be a root cause to also low pancreatic enzymes. And if you have both low stomach acid and low pancreatic enzymes, now you're digesting food even less well. Interestingly enough, if any of these 3 are low, could be 1, 2, or all 3 of them, you're also not going to digest fat very well, which means that you are likely to have other symptoms other than symptoms related to ADHD due to low neurotransmitters. So you're wondering, Allison, how do I know if I possibly don't digest my protein very well? Here's a couple of things. I would ask yourself, do you have any of the following symptoms? And by the way, it doesn't have to be all of these. It could be just some of them, but difficulty building or keeping muscle, thinning hair, fatigue, indigestion, bloating, feeling heavy or slow after eating meals with meat or high protein, high fat content, sugar and carb cravings because your body isn't getting enough nutrition from your fat and protein that you are eating. So now your body is getting cravings to try and replace the lack of nutrients that you're not getting, even though you literally ate those foods. I know it sucks, but it's true. Acid reflux due to low stomach acid causing acid reflux. PMS due to the liver not doing well, to not functioning well. Therefore, it's not producing bile, but it's also not detoxing your hormones, particularly estrogen. I would check out episode 118 if you want to know more about that, which is titled The Number One Thing You Can Do to Ease Bloating and PMS by Supporting Your Liver. Difficulty focusing and poor memory. So all those can be signs and symptoms of poor protein digestion. Crazy, right? All right. But some other things you can do to be like, do I possibly have low protein? Is this something I'm dealing with? Number one, you can look at your total blood protein in your most recent blood work. So look at blood work that your doctor ordered for you, and a very common marker they're going to get when they're just doing a whole blood work analysis is called total blood protein or total protein. And the functional lab range, meaning the more narrowed, more specific lab range for actually healthy individuals, is going to be 6.9 to 7.4 as like your range. So you want to be within 6.9 to 7.4. If you are lower than 6.9, you have a low total protein, and the most common causes I see are either not eating enough protein or eating plenty of protein and not being able to digest it, basically not having good stomach acid, bile, or pancreatic enzymes. As a side note, good protein intake per day, I'm going to be generally looking for 80 to 100 grams of protein a day for really good intake. 60 is going to be like passing, like a C. Anything less than 60, you're looking at 40, 30, anything less than 40, I'm often seeing it's just not enough protein intake for a day. So you can just go and look at your average food sources and count up how many grams of protein you're eating on average per day and get an idea. Are you hitting minimum 60 grams? If not, try to double your protein intake and see if that helps. Because if your stomach acid, bile, and pancreatic enzymes are fine, then all you need to do is up your protein intake, and that could massively improve a lot of your ADHD symptoms, which is pretty crazy, right, guys? Now, you can actually get my whole spreadsheet for functional blood chemistry analysis by going to betterbellytherapies.com/blood. It's a spreadsheet that has all the normal blood chemistry markers your doctor's going to order. So basically lab information you already have, and you just plug in your results and you can see how they compare for a functional blood chemistry lab range. Now, if you're like, I don't even know what's a functional lab range, what are you talking about, Allison? Go check out episode 31 of the Better Belly podcast, also linked in the show notes, why your doctor says your labs look normal even when you don't feel normal. And I talk about the standard lab ranges, which is what your doctor is looking at, versus functional lab ranges, how these lab ranges even became, like why you have two different lab ranges, why the functional lab ranges are better, all that. But if you are like, I want to know what the functional lab ranges are, how can I analyze my own blood chemistry results myself? Go get that spreadsheet. You can get it for $9 as of this episode. Just go to betterbellytherapies.com/blood or click the link in the show notes. All right, so that is the first thing that I'm seeing cause or be a component of the gut influencing or making ADHD just worse. Things that just feels like the ADHD slog is real. And there's a lot of things like it's okay. I'm not saying here you don't ever need to take ADHD medication or you can completely get rid of your ADHD by supporting these 5 things. But I can see my clients just the sense of ease in their life increases so much when they're like, wow, I'm eating more protein, or I can digest the protein that I'm eating. And not only are my gut symptoms better or my skin symptoms better, but also my brain symptoms are better. And that's just better, right, guys? All right. So the second thing I'm seeing really impact my clients with ADHD, and when they address these, the second thing, their ADHD symptoms are just so much easier to manage, are pathogens. Specifically, I like to call them hidden pathogens. These are pathogens, they're infections. They can be bacteria, they can be parasites, they can be yeast or fungi, but they are living at low enough levels in your body that you are not so sick that you're at the doctor getting antibiotics, right? They're low levels. You are not aware of them other than the fact that you feel crummy every day. And let me give you some examples of some ones I see most strongly correlated with ADHD or making ADHD worse. Number 1 is C. diff. C. diff is short for Clostridia difficile. It blocks the conversion of dopamine to norepinephrine, which imbalances the dopamine and norepinephrine balance. And even if you're like, wow, it blocks the conversion, doesn't that mean that dopamine's like rising? Too much dopamine is still bad. And not enough norepinephrine can leave you feeling sluggish, not able to lose weight, not able to focus. So even though dopamine gets a lot of limelight for ADHD, you still want to balance between all of your neurotransmitters, and C. diff is not helping you get that. So if you want to know more about the mechanics of C. diff working, you can go to episode 41 titled Anxiety, Depression, or ADHD, One Reason to Check Your Gut. Or I think it's GOT, Anxiety, Depression, or ADHD, One Reason to Check Your Gut. And I have that in the show notes. And I do a deep dive into what is C. diff, where do you get C. diff, why, some of you might be familiar with C. diff and think, Allison, C. diff is a very intense diarrhea problem. You have to go to the hospital for it. I am not having diarrhea, or it's not that explosive. I'm not at the hospital. But you can actually have chronic low-grade C. diff, and this is not talked about or acknowledged in hospitals or in conventional medicine centers. So definitely something you want to check out. I've had dozens of clients have C. diff, again, chronic low grade, but it is 100% impacting them. And that could be a component of your ADHD, if not other symptoms in your body. A second pathogen that I see strongly connected to ADHD is H. pylori. So H. pylori is a bacteria that hangs out in the stomach, and it can lower stomach acid. So again, it's actually going to be a part of poor protein digestion. So that's going to affect ADHD. But also H. pylori is known to cause anxiety and depression. We're not sure 100% how, but the biggest theory is actually through altering protein digestion. So you want to know if you're suspicious or that you have low stomach acid, maybe your total protein's low on your blood work, maybe you fail your baking soda test that I shared, before you just start dumping betaine HCl, which is a supplement for just adding stomach acid to your body, before you start dumping that in your body, you want to make sure you don't have H. pylori first. So the way that I do that in my program is I do a GI map test, because H. pylori tests done by hospitals, they're 2 week, and they're using a standard lab range, so they will miss H. pylori almost every single time unless you have ungodly high levels of it. So we use the GI map in the Better Belly Blueprint, which is my program for clients to order labs and analyze them themselves and get support with group coaching for their life, even though most of our clients are finishing the program in 3 to 6 months. So that is H. pylori. And if you want to dive a little bit deeper into it, I talk about it in episode 24, 5 ways to heal your acid reflux without pharmaceuticals. All right, the next big pathogen I am seeing behind my as like a little ADHD gremlin is mold toxicity. And I'm not talking about mold as like an allergy. You don't need to have an allergy to mold for this to be a problem, because mold also spits out a toxin that we call mycotoxins. And this is not, you don't have an allergy to mycotoxin. It's like you don't have an allergy to mercury. Mercury is a toxin. Mycotoxins are a toxin. So even if you're not allergic to mold, you can still have, if you've been exposed to enough mycotoxins, especially the wrong kinds, then you can be set up for a lot of mold toxicity in the body. And one of those things that mycotoxins do is they can alter brain functionality. So you're going to see problems like brain fog, poor focus, irritability, a lot of like limbic system problems, so emotional dysregulation. And I'm going to be having a whole series on mold upcoming this August 2024. So be sure to subscribe to this podcast if you have not, to hear a lot more on mold and how it affects the gut and how mold is connected to constipation, and hear stories of people who have overcome mold. I mean, it's going to be an amazing month, like how to find 5 hidden signs of mold in the gut. I've literally been preparing for this month for like a year, just slowly collecting episodes. So I'm very excited to bring it to you guys finally. So those are the 3 big ones I really think about when it comes to ADHD and pathogens. But there are other pathogens like Candida, SIBO, parasites can just generally increase overall inflammation in the blood, which will then reach the brain and cause brain inflammation, and that can cause worsening ADHD symptoms as well. So what I would recommend you do, the only way to know if you have these pathogens is to test. And I do not recommend testing at hospitals. It is a waste of time. Typically, I will have clients that say, I already did all the stool testing at the hospital. They didn't find anything. And we literally do a stool test with the GI map by Genova Diagnostics, and it finds all the stuff that the hospital testing didn't find because it is a better test. I also like the organic acids test by Mosaic Labs. That's great for finding mold, candida, and C. diff. So you can get both of these labs at wholesale price, saving $100 on both of them by joining the Better Belly Blueprint, which is my program that teaches you how to order and analyze your own labs and get support from group coaching for your lifetime. Just go to betterbellytherapies.com/training and you can learn more about that program, how to join, how much it is, if this program is right for you, all of that by going to betterbellytherapies.com/training. All right, that's number 2, the second thing I see impacting ADHD in my clients. Number 3, the third thing is poor detox. Now you're like, what does detox have to do with the gut? Well, detox is handled largely by the digestive system. For example, your liver, which is an accessory organ to your digestive system, is a huge component of helping you poop. And pooping is directly a digestive, it's a function of the digestive system. Your bile, which your liver produces, helps you to not only digest things like protein, but also bind toxins. Stomach acid helps kill incoming pathogens, break down food into usable components, and help generally reduce overall inflammation in the gut by breaking food down. And if food isn't broken down by stomach acid, your bacteria are having to do that job, which can lead to problems like bacterial overgrowth and inflammation in the gut lining, leading to leaky gut. So you want to have a good functioning digestive system to be able to detox. If you are not detoxing well, which isn't just the digestive system, but the digestive system is a huge component of it. If you're not detoxing well, you are now going to have extra toxins floating around in your body, in your bloodstream, literally going everywhere. It's going to go to your skin. It's going to go to your brain. It's going to go to your organs. It's going to affect your hormone balance. And it's just generally going to make you feel shitty, which doesn't help anybody with ADHD. It doesn't help anybody. But if you have ADHD, feeling poor, feeling fatigued, being in pain, it's just one more thing for your brain to be distracted by and put down by and not getting dopamine with. So that's not good. But also that inflammation in your blood can damage your blood-brain barrier and then eventually allow things to start crossing from the blood into your brain that should not be crossing. And that's going to make your brain go crazy. So that's when you're going to get that brain fog, worsening memory, worsening ability to have executive functioning. And you perceive it as, well, I'm a mom or I'm just getting older. But it's actually all these toxins that your body isn't able to get rid of. And often the gut is a huge component of this. I just don't see situations where the gut is not involved if there is a toxin problem or a detox problem. Now, the next question is, Allison, how do I know if I don't detox well enough? Well, here's some symptoms. So symptoms you don't detox well: PMS around your period, constipation, brain fog, fatigue, infertility, irritability, unexplained anxiety, acne, eczema, and rashes. Basically, your skin is trying to do the detox job that your liver isn't doing, or that your colon isn't doing, or your kidneys aren't doing. And then you're going to get skin problems, difficulty losing weight or difficulty gaining weight in some occasions, estrogen dominance, which is going to include problems like painful breasts, but typically during your period, but it can be any time of the month, just tender breasts, anger, irritability, cramping during your period, painful periods, heavy menstruation, light menstruation, irregular periods. Basically, if you're a woman and you have any type of hormonal symptoms around your period or around fertility, around ovulation, any of that, you probably have poor detox problems. So my favorite ways to support or open your detox pathways are going to be liver support, which is going to include supplements and typically a organic no-mess castor oil pack that you can use while you sleep. You can get all of my preferred supplements and castor oil packs and recommendations to detox your liver by going to betterbellytherapies.com/liver or click the link in the show notes, and you can get my personal liver protocol that I use myself and that I give to my clients. The next thing is going to be helping your skin to detox. baths. I like to do Epsom salt baths, which you want to have the right amount of Epsom salts. I share how many cups of Epsom salt to use, whether you're doing a whole bath or a foot bath, a whole body bath, that is, or a foot bath, in my liver protocol. Again, go to betterbellytherapies.com/liver. Saunas are great for skin detoxing, and then exercise if you can handle it. A lot of my clients who are the sickest just feel very crappy after or during working out. So don't work out if that's you. You want to use other ways to sweat, like saunas or Epsom salt baths. But if you can exercise and you can handle it, it doesn't have to be intense. It can be a walk that just gets you to sweat slightly. It can be gentle yoga that gets you just your heat going and gets you sweating slightly. It doesn't have to be a HIIT workout, but just a little bit of exercise can also get that sweat moving and get you detoxing. And the last thing is helping your colon detox with a coffee enema and a push catch kit. Now, a push catch kit, it is fun. It is like a specific product. It's a kit. So it has a beginning product, which is the push, and an end product, which is the catch. And you can get 10% off of the push catch kit when you get my liver protocol. And literally 10% off the push catch kit saves you about a little more than $10. And the liver protocol is just $7. So the protocol basically pays for itself when you get it and when you get the push catch kit and do the coffee enema. This is amazing. It's one of the coffee enema push catch kit, even though if you're like, coffee enema, did she just say enema and coffee? That is weird. It's one of the things that my clients say consistently gives them energy and focus and clarity of mind. Like right away, as soon as you use it. Usually when they're nervous about it, I just say, just wait till you feel amazing and you will be sold on the experience. So same thing to you. If you're listening, you're like, I will never do that. If you're struggling with brain fog and focus and irritability and fatigue, and you do this and you feel better, you will love it for life. Okay, that's the end of that on detoxing. The next thing that I'm seeing impacting ADHD, making it harder to manage, is a gene mutation. And I'm going to be talking about this gene mutation next week on the Better Belly podcast in depth. I just felt that this episode was not the right place to talk about it. So this is the one content I am going to link to as soon as the episode is out next week. But it's going to be on the MAOA gene mutation. If you've never heard of it, you definitely want to give a listen. It's like up there in level of importance for ADHD, it's way past like the MTHFR gene mutation. So if you know about MTHFR and you're like, do I have that? I don't know. Should I get testing? If you're interested in that at all, you will want to know about the MAOA gene mutation. And the reason this is connected to the gut, even though you're like, that's a gene, not gut, is that the MAOA gene mutation can massively change your strategy around things that are gut related, like when to eat meals, how much protein, fat, and carbs to eat per meal, how to eat during vacation and low stress days versus the work week and moderate to high stress days. So there's a lot of strategies, like just practical strategies you can engage with if you have the MAOA gene mutation. And I'm going to be diving into that in literally a week, next week's podcast episode on Tuesday. So be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss that if you are not subscribed already. All right. So the last thing related to making ADHD more difficult to manage and the gut is just generally too many toxins. The main way toxins are going to get into your body is through your digestive tract. The second and third are going to be your lungs, so breathing them in like perfumes and scents, and your skin. So putting on lotions, putting on makeup, putting on products that your skin absorbs. So some of the ones we're thinking of, I like to think of toxins in two categories: heavy metals, or just generally metals. So thinking like mercury, arsenic, uranium. If you think you do not have these by any means, I have so many clients who they are like, for sure, they're like, I probably have candida overgrowth. I probably have a parasite. You kind of come in thinking what you think you have. And I do have clients who are correct and accurate, and I am not against like trying to figure it out, but the testing shows exactly what you have. And so many times those clients are like, oh my gosh, how did I get this much uranium in my body? How did I get this much mercury in my body? But it's so helpful to actually know and see what you have so you don't get paranoid about something isn't even a problem for you, and B, you can be hyper focused on what is showing up on your labs. Mercury can cross the blood-brain barrier. It comes from mercury amalgams and fish like tuna. Arsenic is going to come from sources like water and like if you like to paint professionally, there's a lot of resources for that. Uranium can come with a lot of radon. So if you are in an area that has high radon, even if you have a water filter that filters out radon, many water filters that filter out radon don't filter out uranium. So that's one way that I've had several clients get a lot of uranium in their body is water filters that don't filter out uranium. So heavy metals are a huge component of that. And if you've never checked your heavy metal levels, that could be a big thing antagonizing your ADHD. Then the other category, other than metal toxins or heavy metals, is non-metal toxins. We're thinking pathogens, which we've already covered, plastics, parabens, phthalates, which are typically things like fragrances. So candles, perfumes, lotions, anything that has a chemical fragrance. Essentially, if it's not an essential oil, it's a chemical. And then eating food sensitivities. I threw food sensitivities into a non-metal toxin because when you eat a food you're sensitive to, it creates an inflammatory response just like a toxin. So if you are getting exposed to toxins, even if you detox perfectly fine, your body is getting weighed down by all these toxins, and it's going to end up in your bloodstream, and that blood is going to end up taking it to your brain, and your brain is going to be a little on fire. So some signs and symptoms that you have too many toxins in your body are going to be things like brain fog, poor focus, anxiety, depression, irritability, acne, eczema, rashes, difficulty losing weight, increasing food sensitivities, bloating, and insomnia. The solution to too many toxins is find the toxins. And you can't guess. Guessing is not enough. Like, I generally support the non-tox movement, but unfortunately we can get so buried down in finding the right non-toxic detergents and cleaning supplies that you're totally ignoring the fact that you are eating a food you're sensitive to, or that you have a pathogen in your body that you're just not aware of, and it is making you feel crappy day in and day out. And I don't care how much you change your diet, if you don't get rid of that pathogen, you will feel crappy. So some of my favorite tests that we use in the Better Belly Blueprint are going to be the HTMA test, which is a hair sample test looking for heavy metals and at mineral balance, so like calcium, magnesium, sodium, potassium. I like to use trace elements or analytical research labs. We use a Zoomer test for the food sensitivities, which is by Vibrant Wellness. You can do a total toxin lab to look at non-metal toxins, also by Vibrant Wellness. I typically don't do that test because I find that can be improved just by switching to non-toxic products. But if you're like, I just want to know what my body's dealing with, and do I live enough of a non-toxic life? What are my glyphosate levels? That can be a really cool test to do. But if you want to order any of these labs at wholesale price, saving $50 to $100 per lab compared to buying them anywhere else, then go to betterbellytherapies.com/blueprint or click the link in the show notes. You can learn how to analyze your labs, get support with making sure you're understanding your labs, get the protocols you need depending on your lab results, and just heal yourself. So go to betterbellytherapies.com/blueprint to heal now. And lastly, if you have a lot of toxins, you want to open up your detox pathways as much as possible to try and get those toxins pushed through, get rid of that traffic jam of toxins in your body. And you can do that or start doing it through the liver protocol that I have at betterbellytherapies.com/liver. All right. I hope that was helpful, everybody. And honestly, I'm so excited. We shared so many resources today, podcast episodes and links and protocols and spreadsheets. If you missed one of the links or are trying to remember all the things we shared, just go check out the show notes for an easy reference. You can follow us on Instagram if you want to continue getting more support there. If you like to hang out on Instagram, go check out the other podcast episodes I shared. Go get that free constipation relief guide to do the baking soda test and see see what your stomach acid levels are like, get the functional blood chemistry analysis spreadsheet so you can just take your most recent blood work and for free plug it in and get better data and analyze your blood work better than your doctor did. So go to the show notes, check all that out. And if this episode blessed you in any way, I just want to encourage you, go to your podcast and leave a review and a rating. This helps us so much to get this podcast episode to other people so that they can have their lives changed too, because nobody needs to be stuck in sickness or suboptimal functioning. There's so many new ways to heal, and our goal on this podcast is to share those things and break down the walls between you and your healing. I cannot wait to see you guys on the next episode. Have a great rest of your Tuesday. Hey friend, I hope you loved this episode. If you've been a fan for a while or newly loving this podcast, can you do me a favor? Drop into Apple Podcasts and leave me a review. When you leave a review, you do so much. You help me know you're listening. You can tell me what you're loving so I know what to make more of. And you help others by boosting this podcast so other people like you can find the podcast too. I mean, it's a win-win-win, right? So if you want a way to pay it forward, just go to Apple Podcasts or click the link in my show notes and leave a rating and review. And if you want some more free stuff, just head over to my free Facebook group, betterbellytherapies.com/Facebook, and you can get access to all of my free support for you, including some Facebook group exclusive stuff like my podcast episode vault, where you can search the Better Belly podcast by topic and find exactly what you need to expedite your healing. I cannot wait to see you in there. Catch you guys next week.